They stood there in a little silent cluster, staring at that tilted head, that narrow waist, that pearly smile. It had been a pretty exciting day altogether. First a hidden door, and then a secret room which had been closed for 70 years, and now an imprisoned maiden in a golden frame. Clorinda, 1869. What more could you ask on a wet Sunday? A piercing blast from the kitchen shattered the stillness. Cuffy's police whistle. That meant it was time for Oliver's supper, time for Randy to set the table, and for Mona to clean the office, since it was her week. Hurriedly they left the secret room, closed the door, and shoved the piano back in place. Like conspirators, they separated in the directions of their various tasks. Rush's pockets were full of rusty nails that had to be disposed of. Mona remained in the office with the lights on, hurriedly pasting back torn strips of paper, so old that they kept crumbling like ashes in her fingers. "My," said Cuffy at supper time, "what in the world was you doing all afternoon? I thought I heard furniture being pushed around, and then everything quiet for hours, and then a lot of squeals and a kind of stampede. Some new kind of game?" "Sort of, Cuffy," Randy said uncomfortably, with her fingers crossed under the table. It was true in a way, wasn't it? Rush seemed to have developed a sudden consuming interest in the Cassidy family. 14 children, you said, didn't you, Father? I wonder what happened to them all. Somebody or other told me about one of them who's still alive. A rich old gentleman out west somewhere. Hasn't been back in 40 years, said Father. There may be others scattered about, and doubtless many descendants. Why didn't they hang on to this swell place, I wonder, Rush said. I should think they'd have wanted to keep it in the family. Father shrugged his shoulders. That was a question. Perhaps they thought it was a funny old place. Aesthetically, it's sort of a freak, you know. I bought it through the agents at the estate of the 2 daughters who owned the property. 2 old spinsters they were. Lived here till they died a few years back. What were their names, Father? Rush put down his fork. So did Mona. So did Randy. The old ladies? Well, let's see. One was named Minnie, or Lizzie. Lizzie, I believe. And the other, not Clorinda by any chance? Rush demanded. Clorinda? No, it was Christabel. I remember because the contrast of the 2 names seemed so marked. Why on earth should it have been Clorinda? Father wanted to know. Oh, I just read the name someplace, Rush said lamely. It's an old-fashioned name, and I just thought. But he didn't have to cross his fingers under the table, for it was the simple truth. That night the children dreamed all night about Clorinda and the secret room. Mona and Randy and Rush, that is. Oliver dreamed that he was driving a Greyhound bus full of policemen across the Brooklyn Bridge.